Hey pals, Palomore here. In today's video, we're going to be talking about Shadowy Duel. If you're unaware, Shadowy Duel is a sub-rogue PvP talent, and a lot of rogues use this spell very poorly. When used correctly, this can be one of our rogues' most powerful tools in their entire kit. In today's video, we're going to look at how to kind of abuse this spell, different ways that you can use it to get the most benefit out of it. Two things really quick before I jump into the video. Number one, if you find yourself returning to my videos a lot, I would really appreciate if you could subscribe to my channel. Most people that watch my videos aren't actually subscribed, so that'd be really cool if you could help me out there. And then number two, I just want to talk about the Murloc infestation really quickly. I get asked about this a lot on my stream, so obviously since I moved, I've had a couple problems with Murlocs here in the new area. I actually met up with the Murloc King in this block. He actually lives just around the corner, and I actually signed up to play Murloc Ball with them. They gave me a t-shirt here for the Murloc League. I'll be playing Murloc Ball with them every Saturday, so hopefully this gets them off my back, kind of. It turns out the ones that were sneaking through my my garbage and cupboards, those are actually not the Murlocs from this area. They're actually from down the street, so they're just kind of a bad group of Murlocs I got to stay away from. Anyways, all in all, the situation is looking really up, but without further ado, let's jump right into the video. Okay, pals, so really quick, I'm going to explain what this talent actually does. I will explain how to abuse it in PvP, all the different ways you can use it, and then I will show you actual in-game examples of it being utilized. Okay, so really quickly, what does this spell actually do? It's a very confusing spell that has a lot of buggy interactions, so I'm going to try to keep it really simple. Basically, it is a very high energy cost, 2-minute cooldown, that will, when used on an enemy player, kind of lock you two into a shadowy duel with each other. What this shadowy duel actually means is kind of just something in terms of vision. So I'll go ahead and give you an example here. If I go up to my target and I use shadowy duel, it'll lock the two of us into only being able to see one another. So as you can see, I use it. Everyone else out here in Elwyn kind of goes invisible, NPCs and all, and then for these 6 seconds we can only really fight each other. Something to note is your team, let's say you're playing Arena 3v3, if you shadowy duel an opponent, your healer will still be able to actually cast healing spells on you, so this isn't really a spell that's going to accidentally get yourself killed in Arena or something like that, but it is something that can actually isolate the enemy player from their healer. So now that we understand what this talent actually does on a basic level, we can kind of start breaking down how to actually abuse it in PvP. I figured for the video, there are 4 kind of ways that I like to use this, 2 being offensive and 2 being defensive, so we'll kind of go through each of those one at a time. So the number one way that I like to actually abuse Shadowy Duel offensively is by using this on targets with low health to kind of secure a kill while skipping past enemy cooldowns. What I mean by this is actually using Shadowy Duel in a way where you can prevent the team from being able to use all of their defensive cooldowns to extend a game's duration and actually just land a kill very early on. Okay, so I actually have 2 examples of duel being utilized like this to show you guys. Here's the first game. This is from a priest perspective in RMP. They're basically trying to kill this hunter, and he barely lives with turtle. The priest is still in a CC chain though with trinket, but they're going to try to extend this, and then right before the hunter comes out of turtle and before the priest comes out of sap, the rogue actually duels onto the hunter and is able to finish him off with low health inside the duel. And this is one really good way to abuse it. In the second clip here, the RMP has decided they want to kill the holy priest, so they actually get a really good position, they get a good setup, and they use a smoke bomb to kind of all in him with combustion. And as you'll notice right here, the Ret Pally goes to run in with his bubble up. He could potentially use Sank on the stun to knock that off, or he could actually just use like a bop, maybe even a Blessing of Sacrifice. So this duel right before the Ret Pally comes into the bubble is actually almost a game-winning play in a sense. It's really important when using this method to recognize the conditions when dueling is actually good. Like I said, Shadowy Duel costs a lot of energy, so you need to make sure you'll have enough damage to actually finish the kill, or that the target's low enough before you actually pull the trigger on duel. So the second way that I like to use Shadowy Duel is actually completely based around the one dance build and being able to kill somebody 100-0 in one stun with one duel. Obviously, I've made a lot of videos talking about different rogue builds, but one of the more popular builds that I've talked about is the one dance build. This is the one where you're going to play Night Stalker, Dark Shadow, and Premeditation, and basically you're focusing all of your cooldowns into the win condition of 100-0ing somebody in a Shadowy Duel. I will link a video that kind of goes over this one dance rotation in the description below. But this can also be done with a standard build as well on some squishy targets. You can do this to other rogues, you can do this to Windwalker monks. The only reason you really need one dance is when you're dealing with like a tankier target, something like a warrior. But yeah, this is one of the best ways to abuse duel right now. It's absolutely broken. I've said in the past and I'll continue to say it. This is something that in situations can have no counterplay whatsoever. I'll go ahead and jump into some clips of this and kind of show you guys exactly how that works again. Alright guys, just two quick little clips here of the one dance being pulled off in a duel. I've talked about this so much in my other videos, I'm not going to go in depth, but I do want to just run some footage and show you. It's important, like I said, to recognize the win conditions when this is also a good idea to pull the trigger on duel here, but this is one of the most uncounterable ways to kill people with duel. Something that is very important to note about using Shadowy Duel offensively is that this will not work on every single type of healer. There is AoE healing that will go through Shadowy Duel, and they can completely negate your kill opportunities and kind of get you off guard. So two specific healers that I want to talk about is Discipline Priest and Resto Shaman. Resto Shamans have kind of less AoE healing. They really only have their Ascendants and Totem heals as well as their Spirit Link, which all can go through Duel. But Discipline Priest can actually just use Radiance charges and get huge AoE heals off through Duel. They can also use their Power Word Dome and drop that on the ground inside the duel if they know where you're stunned. So make sure you're extra careful when playing against Discipline Priest or Restoration Shaman, because these will not be able to pull off your little aggressive duel tricks on. Anyways, moving into the other two ways that I like to abuse duel, these are the defensive ways, and these are a lot more reliable and safer methods. You don't really need to make a big outplay to pull some of these off, but they are definitely still worth noting and going over, so let's jump into those really quick. So for number 3, in terms of defensive dueling, one way that I like to use this spell is actually to just peel for teammates. And this is very, very simple. You know, let's say you're playing RMP and you're playing against a Turbo Cleave, which is Enhancement Warrior. If you see the Warrior popping Avatar, popping all of his big burst cooldowns running down your mage, and your healer's under a lot of pressure, you can simply just duel the Warrior and kind of kite him away. And this way, the damage will be more spread out between you and your mage. He's probably not going to have to be forced into Ice Block. You could also just use it on a warrior if your mage is in Ice Block and he's using Shattering Throw. That way it will prevent him from getting shattered out of Ice Block if your healer's still in CC. This is a very, very simple way of thinking about Shadowy Duel. I can find an example and show you guys, so let's look at that. Okay, so a really simple example here. Ret Warrior versus RMP. The RMP's mage is under a lot of pressure. Ret and the Warrior are chasing in. They're going to throw a Stormbolt and pop wings. The Rogue immediately just Shadowy Duels the Ret Pally off on the burst here, and then the mage can kind of come out, just dispel the Hex, and they kind of live without having to commit any big cooldowns back to the other team. Alright pals, so lastly, number 4 way that I like to use Shadowy Duel is another defensive option, and this one is also very simple, but a little more tricky than just peeling for your teammate, and this is actually using Shadowy Duel to keep yourself out of a dangerous situation. So what I mean by this is kind of preemptively peeling yourself. I know this method might sound a little more complicated, but it is actually a lot simpler than most of the others. I will find a video example and kind of show you guys this in use. Okay, so I actually spent a long time trying to find an example of this through VODs. I couldn't actually find anything, but I still want to give a more thorough explanation, so I'm going to kind of break that down here in Paint. So like I said, a good way to use duel defensively could be a prime example in a mirror match. Let's say that the enemy team uses blind onto your healer. Immediately, you know that this blind is because that they want to kill either your mage or yourself as the rogue. This is where you can immediately start to recognize the enemy team's position, maybe think about what they're trying to do, and this is where you could actually try to just duel any player on the enemy team to kind of isolate them. Dueling the healer could be a bit of a risky play because then you're leaving a rogue and a mage to kind of 2v2 your team while your healer's in a blind. This could be really bad for your mage. So actually dueling the rogue or dueling the mage is both a great defensive play here, because not only does it completely kill their chance of killing you in a blind unless the rogue's going to solo you, but it also protects your mage if they actually want to go on your mage. Only one of them can connect. Obviously, you know, a priest and a mage could maybe do a lot to your mage, but you're negating the chance of your mage dying in a stun. Your mage will be able to just kite. Hopefully this can kind of clear up that example of using duel defensively. Obviously, there's other times where it's a lot more obvious. Maybe this is a holy priest and he'll use chastise on your mage. As their mage goes to DB sheep and the rogue's running at you, this could be a great time to also just turn your duel and quickly duel the rogue, or step and duel one of the other two players. Anyways, pals, thank you so much for watching today's video. If you learned anything new or this was helpful, please like. I would really appreciate it. As well as joining my Discord server, which is in the description below, or checking me out on Twitch over at twitch.tv/Palomore. I did actually name change my Twitch from iPalomore to Palomore, in case you're confused. I did do that, but thank you so much for the support, guys. I really, really, really appreciate it. Anyways, I will see you guys in the next video.